we're officially into football. We're 50 days away from Packers going to Chicago. Arizona and Denver's running backs, rookies, all report today, a week out from camp starting, okay? And I want to talk about the Cowboys again. So this is the story this morning on Ezekiel Elliott. This is Charles Robinson at Yahoo.com is a very trustable guy. He said if the Cowboys aren't proactive about a new deal 2 years out on Zeke, this thing's going to go sideways fast. Pro Football Talk reports Ezekiel Elliott hold out until he gets a new deal. So once again, Ezekiel Elliott is creating organizational tension right before a season. 2 of the last 3 years, one of them a judicial matter, now this one. 2 years out from a new contract. Folks, this is why I'm tough on Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel and Jameis Winston. It's why I was tough on John Wall. Okay, because I don't have time for you to grow up. I'm paying you a fortune to John Wall. John Wall now is getting mature. He's 2 knee surgeries in and $45 million large a year. It's too late. As an organization, now I'm overpaying him. I need the first 4 years of underpaying him or fairly paying him. The bottom line with Zeke, his dad came out when he was drafted, and I'll read the quote. From his father, my biggest worry is I don't think my son knows how to navigate in life being a superstar. He's like a little boy. He just wants to have fun and play football and enjoy people. The problem is by the time he gets a little more mature, he's 28, he's 4,000 carries in, and it's too late. Now I have to overpay him for a running back who's past his prime. This is why scouts at the combine ask about your childhood, and they ask about your parents. And they ask really uncomfortable questions. And the media, which tends to lean left and be protective of athletes, generally doesn't like it. But this is why you ask the questions. Johnny Manziel, Jameis Winston are why I ask questions about Baker Mayfield. The police video of Baker Mayfield wouldn't be a big deal if Johnny Manziel and Jameis Winston had been stars. But Jameis Winston, Johnny Manziel, and Baker came into sports with maturity issues. Johnny's already out of the league. Jameis Winston's got about a year, maybe 8 games, or he's out of the league. And Baker, we'll see. This is why we ask maturity questions. This is why I'm tough on quarterbacks and star players. Because I'm paying you a lot of money, and I can't wait for you to grow up. And maturity, by the way, is not really teachable. Blocking is teachable. Tackling is teachable. Playbooks are teachable. Have you ever met a really immature 21-year-old, and at 28, they were super mature? No. They make baby steps. They get more mature. But generally in life, I can remember the kids I went to college with. The 2 guys I was best friends with in college that were really mature are now super successful, great dads, very wealthy. The guys that were screw-offs are still screw-offs. Like, you don't go 21 and immature to 31 and super mature. You may get more mature. And by the way, Dallas, you have an example of this. It's called Des Bryant. Des never reached his potential. He didn't take working out seriously. He didn't take coaching seriously, and he underachieved. By the way, T.O. 3 times left a team. All 3 teams got better the following year. New England won Super Bowls when Randy Moss left. But fans freak out because Zeke is great, and it freaks us out in football when a great player could leave. But remember, football is not the NBA. There are players in the NBA, you're just going to put up with a lot of stuff. But the NFL's always been about letting guys go who are still great and have stuff left in the tank. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl, and Indy knew he could win a Super Bowl. Brett Favre still had stuff in the tank. Joe Montana went to Kansas City, still had stuff in the tank. You got to get comfortable in professional football in America. The basketball culture is not the football culture. NBA players are generally more important. Only 5 starters, only 12, 13 in the roster. LeBron's got the ball in his hands the entire game. Zeke, what does he get? 18 carries? They have 69 plays. There's touchdowns the Cowboys have over the course of a season. He's not even on the field. So when you see in the combine organizations asking tough questions about your parents, your childhood, your maturity, this is why. Or you end up the Cleveland Browns, You spend this money on Johnny Manziel, and he's a bust. Or you spend a fortune on coaching and teaching Jameis Winston, and he massively underachieves. Now, I think Baker's going to be better than both those guys. But the questions, police video, grabbing your junk, throwing the football, have to be asked. Because I don't have time for Baker Mayfield to grow up. He's a number one pick. You got to be good now. John Wall, I don't have time for the nonsense. Now you're 2 knee surgeries in and $45 million a year. So I'll say it again. I'd trade Zeke. I'd trade him. You got 8 great young players. Running backs don't dictate wins in this league. They never have. Adrian Peterson left the Vikings. Never had a losing record. DeMarco Murray left the Cowboys. Won 2 or 3 division titles. Le'Veon Bell left the Steelers. Number 4 in total offense. I'm just not putting up with this nonsense. Listen, have you ever worked? Forget football. Ask yourself this. Have you ever in college lived with somebody that was immature? Yeah, I had one of those. They suck the oxygen out of your apartment. Have you ever had somebody in your family that's immature? They suck the oxygen out of dinner. Have you ever worked with somebody that's in a locker room or in a cubicle space? They suck the oxygen. They create tension. Everybody walks on eggshells. This Dallas Cowboy team, these windows close real quick. You're in a division with Philadelphia, and I think Philadelphia's got a better GM than you. I think they got a better coach than you. I think they got a better quarterback than you. I think they have a better defensive line than you. Every little detail, Cowboy fans, every little detail is going to count. Okay, this is not a division with the Jacksonville Jags or the Detroit Lions. No. New England and Philadelphia right now are probably the 2 best-run football operations in America. So these little tensions, these little bubbles, this little immaturity, this little, oh, God, we got to worry about that thing instead of football and this thing instead of football, they will matter. This is Microsoft and Apple 15 years ago. Like every inch counts for a foot. And I say it again. I know people freak out in football, but he's so great. Yeah, and for the second time in 3 years, you have organizational tension going right into a camp. Philadelphia doesn't. New England doesn't. Chicago doesn't. Rams don't. A lot of good teams in the NFC. Seattle doesn't. Dallas does. It's not the NBA. This is not the NBA. You put up with a lot more, you deal with a lot more, and you have to. And if you can't handle it, don't work in the NBA. That's the culture of basketball. Players matter more. From the AAU to the college to the pro level. They do get over it. In the NFL, they really don't. And you can move off players. T.O. 3 times. All teams got better. Des Bryant, Randy Moss, teams get better. It's amazing. It's like this is the second time. 3 years. Nonsense. 2 years out. Dealing with this. Tedious. I want to go to this. So we are 50 days away from the start of the NFL season, Packers-Bears. But that's not really football. Today, Arizona and Denver rookies report. In a week, the camp start. And one of the reasons, I'm a huge college football fan. Joy and I both love college football. But over the last 4 or 5 years, people have said to me, you've reduced your college football talk. And I said, that's because hope left the building. I'm a big believer in hope. I want fan bases to be engaged. So the more of you that are engaged, the more I can talk about a sport. And aren't you all real happy about all the NBA parity? Isn't everybody telling me via Twitter, I love the NBA parity? Because next year, like 16 NBA teams, it was like hopeful. I mean, Utah has a realistic shot. Denver, Milwaukee, Philadelphia. By the way, Toronto was 17-5 without Kawhi. They'll make the playoffs. Indiana, Portland, Golden State, Houston, endless, Clippers, Lakers. And you're all right. You're all very, very viable. Even the teams in the NBA that aren't great, Sacramento, Pelicans, Dallas. So college football, the bubble in college football now of teams that can win the national championship is a 3-team bubble. Of 130 college football programs, Bama, Clemson, Georgia, that's it. They can win the national championship. They can go through their season, win a conference championship, and then win 2 games in the playoff. Now, I don't think there's much around that. I do think Michigan and Washington are very interesting. I think Oklahoma's always interesting, but it's a 3-team bubble. This is why the NFL is fantastic. And I was thinking this morning about, I always talk about these bubbles. Who's in the Super Bowl lead bubble? I think there's 6 teams in the NFL that should be favorites. Roster, coach, organizational, quarterback. And the 6 teams are New England, Kansas City, Indianapolis, Philadelphia, Rams, Chargers. I think that's the bubble. But in the NFL, I also think there are 11 teams that hover around the bubble. Now, they may need a fluke win. They may need a break in scheduling. They may need to stay healthier than other teams. I think they're Atlanta, Minnesota. Tennessee is my dark horse in the NFL this year, along with the 49ers. Tennessee was 9-7, 2 years in a row. Best offensive line, arguably in the AFC, and Mike Vrabel appears to be able to coach. Pittsburgh, Saints, San Francisco is my second dark horse team. I think Kyle Shanahan's the next Belichick. Seattle, Chicago, Green Bay, Dallas, and Houston. Now, I think those teams can win a Super Bowl, but I do think they need a series of breaks. Their personnel's good enough to win, unlike college football. Their personnel's good enough to win. They may be not quite as good at head coach, or they've got a real hole. San Francisco secondary, Tennessee, Mariota, can he ever stay healthy? Houston, God, I like the team. I hate the offensive line. Those are teams that need a break, need a fumble, need a fluke, need a call, need to stay healthier. Probably all those bubble teams need like 2 of their rookies to pop. Like they come in and you're like, oh my God, we got a rookie here who may get Pro Bowl votes. But when you add that up, that's 17 of 32 NFL teams. That's called optimism. That's what everybody's excited about the NBA next year. That's why I've moved off on my show, College Football Talk. My love for college football hasn't dimmed. I watch more college football than I've ever watched. I bet more college football. I go to more college football games. I've already got tickets for 2 games this year, and we're in July. Okay, but hope and optimism are what helps choose my topics. And we are starting here. I think we got 6 in the bubble, 11 hovering. And I will even throw this in. I think there's 5 other teams in the NFL that are talented enough that their fan base can lie to themselves that they think they can win the Super Bowl.
I was just about to say, there's probably a couple teams who are a little angry right now.
Okay, so there's 5 more. So now we're at like 22 of 32. Cleveland is too young to win a Super Bowl. The Jags are too Doug Marrone. The Jets have too many new pieces. Carolina's too inconsistent. And I do think the Ravens' ceiling is too low. But those teams are good enough at a bar, their fans could argue. I mean, Cleveland's got the players. But Jacksonville, by the way, sees too much of Andrew Luck and too much of Deshaun Watson. I don't think they're going to get out of their division. So now I got 6 Super Bowl, 11 bubble, and 5 who can argue about it at a sports bar. 6, 11, 17, 5, 22 of 32. That's called optimism. That's called hope. That's why, along with other reasons, the NFL continues to be king and why the NBA may have its best regular season in a decade next year. If you can go to a bar and argue you can win it, that is great for my business. 6 in the bubble, Chargers, Chiefs, Rams, Patriots, Philadelphia, Indy. 11 hovering the bubble. Atlanta, Minnesota, Tennessee, again, my dark horse, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, San Francisco, dark horse in the NFC, Seattle, Chicago, Green Bay, Dallas, Houston. And 5, you can have 2 Bud Lights and argue at a bar. You can win, but you're wrong. Cleveland, Jags, Jets, Carolina, and Baltimore. God, I love football. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.